The Mediterranean trade route was a small route between Europe and North Africa based in the sea. There were not many goods exchanged on the Mediterranean trade route. The goods included olive oil, pottery, copper, tin, wine, and livestock. This caused a lot of competition among traders and merchants. The Mediterranean trade route was over a very short distance and did not last more than a day. The ships were small and had square sails and used oars. Jerusalem was the connection between the Mediterranean Sea and the Indian Ocean trading systems. The Silk Road was a land route that connected China to the Mediterranean. Silk and spices were the main items being traded. Europeans who had never seen Chinese goods before could not resist the trade of silk and other goods coming from China. Because of the Silk Road, Europe and Asia were linked and no longer isolated from each other. Cultures diffused and technologies were shared. One of the key inventions during the Silk Road was the stirrup. Judaism is one of the three Abrahamic religions. It is a monotheistic religion believing in Yahweh or God, based on the principles of the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, and further explained in the Talmud and other texts. The Jewish tradition believes that it begins with the covenant between God and Abraham. It was founded in Canaan in present-day Israel around 2000 BC. It is one of the oldest organized religions. Judaism was the beginning of monotheism, or the belief in one God. The Hebrews traced their origins back to Abraham and Moses, who gave the Ten Commandments, which are the moral laws of the Hebrews. They established a government ruled directly by God. The Torah has the documentation of the agreement between God and Abraham. Judaism is different from other religions in that it is not a missionary religion, meaning that Jews do not try to convert non-Jews. Torah is a Hebrew word meaning teaching, instruction, or law. It is the central and most important document of Judaism, revered by Jews through the ages. It is written in Hebrew, the oldest Jewish language. It is also called the Law of Moses. Jews do not believe that God sent his son Jesus to the earth to save everyone like Christians. Coming from Judaism, Christianity is one of the largest religions in the world today. It is one of the three Abrahamic religions, along with Judaism and Islam, which would come after 600 CE. Christianity originated in Jerusalem around the 1st century with the teachings of Jesus Christ. It appealed mainly to the poor because it offered them a better life after death. Christianity was founded on the beliefs of their Messiah, Jesus Christ. In Judaism, there was a promise that God would send a Messiah to save them from their sins, and Jesus was the one. It is believed that he was crucified and then resurrected and ascended into heaven. Christians believe that he died for their sins. Christianity was spread through Eurasia and the Mediterranean by the disciples of Jesus Christ and also by Paul of Tarsus. Greece and Rome both had bad land for crop production. This meant that most of the food must be imported from other places. Fortunately, Greece and Rome were both on the Mediterranean Sea, so they had easy access to the Mediterranean trade route. The Romans coped with their unfortunate resources by building extensive roadways, aqueducts, and bridges. The only crop that the Romans could grow was grains, but they could not produce near enough to sustain this large empire, so more grain was shipped in. Greece and Rome both were centered on patriarchal families. Women sometimes owned property, but that was rare, and slavery was also very common. Greece is located on a peninsula separated by rocks, mountains, and hills. There is little farmland, but it is on an irregular coastline which allows for good access to the Mediterranean Sea. The people depend on seafood for most of their food. Minoan was the first civilization in Greece. The Mycenaeans assimilated with the Minoans. They had records, but no established ruler. They produced wool, but mainly traded for food. The Greeks had a polytheistic society with human-like gods. The Greek political organization was based on the city-state. It was a form of democratic government. The city-states, or also called polis, consisted of a city and the surrounded countryside around the influence of one government. Greece also had a strong army that helped gain a great deal of money through trading wine and olive products for grain. Drama was an important part of their culture. Philosophy was revolutionary in Greece at this time. Some of the most famous influential people from ancient Greece were Plato, Homer, and Aristotle. Plato was a Greek philosopher, a student of Socrates, writer of philosophical dialogues, and founder of the Academy in Athens, where Aristotle studied. Homer was a legendary early Greek poet and rhapsody traditionally credited with the composition of the Iliad and the Odyssey. commonly assumed to have lived in the 8th century BC. Aristotle was an ancient Greek philosopher who studied with Plato and taught Alexander the Great. He also argued logic and wrote about many subjects. He came up with the Pythagorean theorem, calculated circumference of the earth, along with the geocentric theory. Alexander the Great was a Greek king of Macedonia. He lived from around July 20th, 356 BC to June 10th, 323 BC. He was born in the city of Pella, but he was taught most of his skills in Athens during his childhood. His teacher was the world-famous Athenian philosopher Aristotle, and through his teachings he became the world's first great military commander. He is often listed as one of the greatest military commanders in history, along with Hannibal Barca, Ashoka the Great, Julius Caesar, and Genghis Khan. He conquered most of the world known to the ancient Greeks before his death. These areas included Greece, Egypt, Syria, Palestine, and Persia, and he also established many cities. He married a Persian woman to help spread the culture of the Greeks. By the time of his death, he had conquered most of the Middle Eastern world known to Europeans. When he died, his empire was split among his generals, although Greek culture still unified them. He died in the city of Babylon in 323 BC of an unknown cause. The term Hellenism was established by the German historian Johann Gustav Droysen to refer to the spreading of Greek culture over the non-Greek peoples that were conquered by Alexander the Great. Athens was a powerful city-state and a renowned center of learning, home of Plato's Academy and Aristotle's Lyceum. It is considered to have been the cradle of Western civilization, largely due to the immense impact of its cultural and political achievements during the 4th and 5th centuries BC on the rest of the then-known European continent. Sparta was a city in ancient Greece whose territory included, in classical times, all of Laconia and Messenia, and which was the most powerful state of the Peloponnesian Peninsula. The Delian League was an association of Greek city-states in the 5th century BC. It was led by Athens. Because many of the League's polises were too poor to contribute ships to the collective navy, they paid taxes to Athens so that there would be enough money to build the expensive triremes. The Peloponnesian War began in 431 BC between the Delian League and the Peloponnesian League led by Sparta. The war was documented by Thucydides, an Athenian general and historian, in his work History of the Peloponnesian War.